Hey everybody, welcome back. Sit back, relax, and listen carefully. I'm going to walk you through some very important information to ensure you are safe to work and that our guests are safe to play. With a greater integration of our roles, with limited staffing numbers to begin, your immediate response to assist will be needed. This will be essential to the operation in our department. With new processes, we will need to become more agile, working together to meet the needs of our customers amid the rapidly changing business environment. We have amended some processes to enhance the safety of associates and guests, and will continue to look for opportunity to improve them. Strict health and safety requirements will create plenty of changes in the coming months or longer. Please expect changes and additional steps on how we conduct day-to-day interactions with our guests and fellow associates, how we manage our workspaces, storage spaces, pre-shift areas, common areas to ensure everyone's safety. This includes limiting our non-essential visitations to areas outside of our department. Our collective safety is our top priority. We will lead by example and do our part in playing a critical role in reinforcing safety protocols every day with each other, fellow associates, as well as our guests. There's a lot of information today we're going to go through. We'll go through it as quickly as we can, but please do understand that we're going to ensure that we show processes that have changed when you are actually on site so that you're comfortable not with just hearing them, but actually physically seeing them. Our objectives today will be to complete the return to work checklist, go through the return to work checklist, health and safety requirements, as well as health and safety requirements for our guests, how you can stay informed, and how to communicate your concerns with your management team as well as HR. Your first shift on property will be required, and you'll be required to complete a few things prior to actually starting at the casino. Health risk screening attestation needs to be completed prior to beginning your shift, and actually will be needed in order to even enter the building. Security will be checking for you to give them the green light on your phone after using the QR code that's posted outside of the security area at the employee entrance. Or if you don't have a phone, you'll have to complete a paper attestation on a daily basis. Online health and safety training, leadership module for supervisors and above can both be completed on NC Talent. Please feel free to log in. If you're not sure of your password or you're having difficulties, go ahead and email myhr@niagaracasino.com and they'll give you assistance to the best of their ability. Your AGCO license is a requirement of coming back to work, and we really need you guys to ensure that yours has not expired. Please log into IAGCO and print out the most recent dated copy of your license. If you don't have a printer, that's no problem. We'll print it for you when you come on shift. But I do ask that you at least have your email that you know that you used for your license as well as the password. If you're unsure of it, please try and go ahead and get into that account prior to coming in. It'll just make your first day much smoother. Your personal information is located on NC Linked. It is a link to an electronic form that you can complete. It is our code of conduct, association with any other family members in the building, et cetera, et cetera. You filled these out on several occasions in the past. It is extremely important that you ensure that it's completed prior to starting on site. Company reorientation will be completed by HR, and this is your departmental reorientation as well as your compliance. Parking is changing on a regular basis due to the different areas opening and more parking being required. So please reference the email that you were given with this attachment or with this link to come to this presentation, as parking instructions will be on that email. On your first day, your trainers are going to give you a tour of the property that you're working on, show you some of the fun and exciting changes, make sure that you're comfortable with where you're going, you know where everything is. And while they're giving you your tour, you're also going to receive a little welcome back kit. In your welcome back kit is a message from Richard Taylor, as well as the general health and safety requirements. You will receive 4 non-medical cloth masks, including instructions on how to properly use and care for. Within that bag is also a little pouch that looks like this. The pouch can be used to store an extra mask, maybe some chapstick, whatever you might need out on the gaming floor to make things a little easier for you, but an extra mask is definitely something you should do. You'll also receive a no-touch physical distancing tool. What this allows is for you to push an elevator button or hook a door and open it up so that you don't actually physically have to touch it with your hands. You'll also receive a stylus pen which has the little rubber tip on it for using any touch screens within the building. And we'll throw in a few lifesavers just to keep your mouth moist. Your health and safety requirements have been broken into 5 categories. We have the monitoring, the personal and protective equipment, hand hygiene, enhanced cleaning, and of course, proper distancing. Sorry, this is in the wrong spot, but we'll move it later at another time. Next recording. This is a copy of the QR code just to show you what you're going to need in order to come into the building. You'll scan that little QR code and then you will show the security guard the little green line with the check mark. This is part of the monitoring and reporting. By monitoring the attestations and having a physical link to showing you that you've completed the attestation, this helps us with our monitoring and contact tracing. It is critical that you do complete these on a daily basis. And it's also important for you to report any COVID-like symptoms that you may be feeling, fever, cough, any difficulty breathing. Even if the symptoms are mild, we're actually would prefer that you stay home. Please do not come in if you're sick. I'm probably going to say this 5 or 6 times, but associates are required to notify their supervisor or manager if they have any COVID symptoms, even if they're mild, as soon as possible. Should you develop any symptoms while you're on shift, please contact a manager immediately. If you're home and you're calling in and you're reporting that you have a COVID-related illness, we do want you to make sure that you note that in your phone call. Your phone calls are to the same numbers as always, or you can call Dawn Lou or email her, but please ensure that you have in fact given a message saying that there is potential to COVID-related matters. Self-monitoring is the key. You need to pay attention to your health. I don't know how you're feeling. Your manager doesn't know how you're feeling. But if you're sick, stay home. It is so important. It doesn't matter if we're short or you know that there's a potential that somebody else may have to come in to cover you. You need to stay home if you're sick. It's important. Any confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our department, we will follow the recommendations of the health department to ensure that we are following protocols correctly. If we do have any active outbreaks, again, we will follow the recommended protocols given to us by the health department. Wearing a mask is essential, not just for you, but for everybody. Everyone has their opinion on mask wearing, but it is scientifically proven to help limit and drastically reduce the spread of COVID-19, and it is mandatory to work or play within Niagara casinos. Again, you've been provided with 4 non-medical face masks. Putting on your mask, you must always use alcohol-based hand sanitizers prior to placing the mask on. Be sure it covers your mouth and nose and it's snug to the face. Avoid touching your mask or your face unnecessarily while you wear it. Masks can be cleaned, and if your mask is no longer wearable, ask for a replacement mask from your supervisor or manager, and it will be completed through a regular uniform request process. In regards to our guests and wearing masks, the conversations with guests who are not wearing a mask when physically distancing should be very quick and polite. Guys, don't get into fights. There's nothing to fight about. If a guest does not put on their mask after being asked, please just notify your supervisor and your supervisor will take care of it, or a manager. Arguing is not good. The more agitated people get, the more animated they get, and the more chances of droplets being shared between people. Just notify your supervisor and they'll take care of it. Wearing your mask is important for you to put it on and off correctly, ensuring that your hands are clean. A lot of people, I know we've seen them everywhere we go, people are pulling their masks down underneath their chin, or they're laying them and hanging them off one ear. This isn't good. Any debris or any type of viral or bacterial content that you have acquired or have come into contact with will be on your mask, the exterior of your mask. So by touching your mask or by just pulling it down, as you can see by the photo, it's showing that the germs will be spread onto your skin, which could in fact cause you to come in contact with a COVID or other bacterial viral organisms. When you're wearing your mask, we do ask that you do sanitize your hand prior to putting it on or taking it off, and using both hands to place your mask on your loops over your ears. So holding your mask with both hands, and the same for taking it off. Both hands, pull it away from your face to ensure that the exterior of the mask doesn't come into contact with your skin. Don't put your fingers under your mask. Don't scratch your face under your mask. Try to avoid touching your face at all costs and be sure that you are safe. You can wear whatever mask you want, providing it's not anything of any sort of offensive printing, it's not overly accessorized, or anything that could be misconstrued as being political or any kind of can cause problems. Free nose is definitely the most popular one, just so everybody knows. If you do happen to see guests or even fellow associates wearing their masks incorrectly, we do ask and encourage you to make a mention of it and let them know to put it on properly. It's not just security's responsibility. It's not just my responsibility. It's not just your responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. We need to help each other. There are times when you may get up from a table and forget that you haven't put your mask back on. So if somebody mentions it to you, don't be offended. They're just trying to protect all of us. We're protecting each other, and we need to wear our masks properly. Hand hygiene is another issue, an area of concern that we do need to make sure that you follow through with everything that we're asking. Hand sanitizing and washing your hands, of course, at every opportunity. Soap and water is always best. But there are times when we can't get to a sink to wash our hands, therefore we will be using hand sanitizers. Sanitizer has been placed all over the building, including on every one of your tables. So you will have opportunity to sanitize your hands at every opportunity after doing any kind of a transaction, touching things, money changes, check changes, color ups, when a player sits down, giving them hand sanitizer to help them stay clean. Just remember that when you do sanitize your hands, you need to sanitize them properly, which involves almost like a washing motion. You need to make sure that you get your fingertips, your nail beds, up your wrist a little bit, in between each finger. Washing your hands and sanitizing them needs to be in the same manner. When you wash your hands, you're rubbing them together. You're doing the backs on each side, up the wrist a little bit, in between each finger, the fingertips, and of course your thumbs. Don't forget your thumbs. When you're using soap and water, obviously it's until the soap is gone. When you're using hand sanitizer, it should be until the sanitizer is almost dry. It's about 20 seconds. It should only take you with sanitizer. And make sure that you get everywhere. We have a lot of cleaning, enhanced cleaning and disinfecting protocols that have been put into place. Health Canada approved products are all that we're using. The cleaning products are all listed in NC linked underneath the COVID tile, and you can see the enhanced cleaning and disinfecting protocols. It will list the content of each of the products and allow you to see the safety data sheets if you're interested in seeing exactly what's in the products that we will be using. Every area has been cleaned and disinfected and sanitized over and over and over again in the last little bit. But I do want to briefly explain the difference between cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting. Cleaning is removing dirt and taking off soil. So imagine you were outside playing and you touched some mud and you got dirt on your hands. You washed them, that's cleaning. Sanitizing is reducing the number of bacteria in the environment significantly, not necessarily completely. whereas disinfecting destroys or irreversibly inactivates the bacteria and viruses, meaning that it can no longer function in the manner that it was created, therefore it is no longer infectious. Within the casino, we have done a microban sanitizing through the entire building. Every surface, every item has been sprayed. Antimicrobials work on a cellular level to continually disrupt and prevent the growth of microorganisms by creating an inhospitable environment for microorganisms like bacteria, mold, and mildew. Antimicrobials protect everyday products like countertops, toys, surface coatings, textiles, and hospital equipment. All equipment and areas have received the antimicrobial spray within the building. The gaming tables were completely sprayed, including the new barriers. All gaming chips were washed, treated, and dried. Gaming chips are regularly cycled back into our cage to ensure that they are disinfected and cleaned on a regular basis. There's a couple products that we'll be using within table games on a daily. One of them is a spray called Airax. Each pit will be equipped with spray bottles and rags. We will be using the microfiber rags to ensure that they're low lint. Any hard surfaces can be sprayed, applying the Airax directly on the surface on a mist setting. Let it air dry when possible. Frequently touched electronics such as keyboards, mouse, touch screens, these need to be wiped. Spray the Airax onto the cloth until the cloth is saturated, and then go ahead and wipe down the surfaces. You need to leave it to dry. Airax has a dry time of approximately 5 minutes. You need to let it sit and dry when possible. There may be times where you don't have the opportunity to let it sit dry for 5 minutes, but I would suggest cleaning it again the second time after you are done if you were in a hurry, but it does need a 5-minute dry time. One thing with the Airax, it'll be used on the high-touch surfaces and shared equipment, electronic devices. This is also being used by the slot department, table games areas. The plexiglasses can be cleaned with it, but this will be done by EVS and on some soft surfaces. It's important to avoid disinfectants such as bleach and ammonia, as mixtures can cause respiratory irritation and release potentially fatal gases. So this is all we'll be using is safe products. These are the cloths that we'll be using. Each of the cloths will be able to be folded and used up to 4 times, providing, of course, it's not been an extremely dirty area. When you fold the cloth into 4, you can fold 1 side, 2 side, fold it again, 3 sides, 4 sides. We have installed hampers into every gaming pit for these cloths to be placed into. They are hospital grade bins, which have a foot pedal so that you actually don't have to touch the lid to open it, to make sure that we are in fact keeping our staff safe and not having to touch potentially contaminated surfaces. These are the wipes that we're going to use on the tables for our dealers. They'll be wiping down their tables. Optum is effective against the novel coronavirus, which is part of the COVID-19. Optum disinfectant has proven effective against viruses much tougher to inactivate than the novel coronavirus, such as poliovirus and norovirus. This means that Optum disinfectants can be used against COVID-19 on hard, non-porous surfaces and non-critical medical devices. The main thing about these for table games, what we're going to be doing is we're using them on hard surfaces on the game, visual limit signs, progressive sensors and keypads, shuffle machines and shoes, money paddle, tote box, top and sides of it, stools, chairs, roulette ball, roulette wheel, chipper champs, anything you touch, any of the lammers, the on and off buttons on craps, on push 22 lammer, anything that can be as a hard surface is what we're going to use these on. Each table will be equipped with a tub of the wipes. We do have specific cleaning instructions, which we will go through and will demonstrate on site when you come in. Again, hard non-porous surfaces is what the wipes are for. It also can be used on electronics, providing they're not ultra saturated. Electronics should be the last thing that you wash or wipe down with the disinfectant wipes. Soft surfaces, we will use the Airx spray. I don't recommend spraying your chairs, guys. You'll have a wet bum for the whole day. I would suggest that you wipe down any areas and try not to touch anything with your hands. It's a soft surface that you don't need to. Just make things a little bit easier for you, and you'll feel a little bit more comfortable. But we don't want you to spray the Airx on the table layouts and the chairs. Remember that they have been treated with the antimicrobial and there is no need for them to be sprayed again. At this time, EVS will be contacted in the event that any of the plexiglass barriers need cleaning. We do not want our table game staff to be cleaning them at this time. Dealers will be disinfecting their tables as they step into them, letting the outgoing dealer know that you've arrived. You can actually start beginning to disinfect your area. You can do areas that the outgoing dealer won't need to touch, that you're going to be touching once you get into the table. Again, we're going to go through these processes, so I'm just giving you a quick verbal of everything that we're going to do, and then we'll actually show you as you get here. Once you've disinfected your table and you've actually taken your seat, you'll actually sanitize your hands one more time before you begin to deal. Again, I'm just going to briefly go through any of the tables that you're going to be cleaning, just to give you an idea of some of the things that you'll have to disinfect in order to step into the table. Visual limit signs. Before you come into the table, you can do your visual limit signs, your MD3 shuffler, your tote box. If the dealer is not using the stool for that table, you're welcome to go ahead and any hard surfaces you can wipe off on the stool. Think about the touch points. Where do you touch on the stool? That's where you should be disinfecting. And this goes for every table. Anywhere that you touch is where you should be disinfecting. On roulette, the chipper champ, think of the touch points on your garage when you're opening it up. You want to disinfect those areas. The bumper in front of the chipper champ. And remember that if you've disinfected the chipper champ and all the components of it, then don't let the outgoing dealer touch it again. Become their chipper so that you know that you're the last one to touch the area that you're in. Once you get onto the game and you've adjusted your chair, exterior of the shoe needs to be disinfected, including the lip where the cards come out. Be mindful of this. Give your card just a little tuck back up and try not to get the cards wet with the wipe. Do that first so that it has time to dry by the time you move on to the next area. Do the hard surfaces on the table, like the rail, the metal area that's exposed around the tray. Don't do your chips. They've already been treated. You don't need to. Your progressive keypads, your touchscreen, your coin sensors, and any other additional equipment that you need to remove from your tray. For example, your NV lammers or your push 22 buttons, reserve lammers, etc., etc. There is actually a detailed plan on every table to tell you how and in what order you should be cleaning some of the products. For example, roulette, we do want you to do your ball wheel head and your rim first, so that these have sufficient time to dry before you're ready to deal the game. You will have to do your tree, your float rack, the dolly, and again, your touch points. Be mindful of touch points. When we're doing a shuffle or card change, we're actually going to remove the cards from the discard rack. And you can, once you've removed your cards from the discard rack, you can give your discard rack a little wipe, and your shoe inside and the lip of the shoe, your cup cards should be disinfected on both sides. You can put them in your player's card rack in order to let them dry. Use your roller, wipe your roller, the discard rack, and again, and if you are on Baccarat, the cover. Switch your decks, perform your cut and burn, load your cards, and then replace the eye shoe lid, disinfect the top of it, and you're ready to go. Craps roll to win. We are going to do the hard surfaces again, but just the touch points, where the dealer is, your interface, your computer screen that goes along with your game, the stick. There is no puck on the roll to win, but when on a regular craps table, there would be your puck, of course. There is a tote box. You'll have to disinfect that as well. Again, touch points, touch points, touch points. Craps. Currently, I don't believe we'll be opening craps, but if we do, it'll be a fresh set of tiles introduced to each of the dealers. Again, please keep in mind that processes can change. These are just what we have put into play with current restrictions. It doesn't mean things won't evolve and change along the way, but you will be advised of any changes that come up to ensure that you are informed. Supervisors, when you enter a section, you'll be required to perform all taking over the section procedures along with your disinfecting assignment. Entering your section, you'll disinfect your visual limit signs, clipboards, all hard surfaces and cabinetry to the section, before and after using phones. When you come in, just remember you have to bring your own pen and any note papers that you may need to take. There's no sharing office equipment, so you need to make sure that you also wipe the swipe clocks at the beginning of your shift and at the end of your shift. Players leaving the table may decide to disinfect the area themselves if a new player comes in. There are wipe stations all around the building, as well as the dealers have them and can offer a disinfectant wipe to a player to wipe down the area. The protective barriers, the plexiglass barriers, it's important that you do not let any of the players wipe these down. If there is a need for them to be cleaned, please contact EVS and have them assist you with this process. Again, supervisors, pit stands, computer mouse, keyboards, all hard surfaces and cabinetry prior to associates arriving. You're going to make sure that you disinfect the stanchions at the pit entry. The Chronos clock, notepads, pens are not to be shared. Again, to remind you, no paper taped to any surfaces. All those little sticky things that were stuck all over the place have all been removed. Staggered start times will help with the process of not having crowds when you're entering the pit. As a supervisor, you will actually be helping your associates in and out of the pit, giving them guidelines like having a couple come in at a time, making sure that there's a 2-meter distance. And I do want to just say, remember that 2 meters is 6.5 feet, not 6 feet. Just be mindful of what you need to clean, and remember, if you happen to notice that somebody's touched somewhere, doesn't mean that you can't just go ahead and wipe it with your cloth and your Airix spray. Card changes will be much more frequent than before. All multi-deck and continuous shufflers, we will only be using those machines. An increased card replacement cycle will be implemented on games where players touch the cards. Minor pokers at least twice per shift, or when needed, for example, with a lack of attention to hygiene protocols. So if you've had a patron who you feel uncomfortable with the way that they were interacting with themselves as far as a hygienic point, you're welcome to let your supervisor know, and they can let you, they will instruct you on how to disinfect or potentially change the cards if needed. All right, new rotations. Some people like the 90-30s, some people don't, but unfortunately this is the best for you and for our guests. More break time to adapt to all of the new processes in your workday. Allowing for hand washing with a half-an-hour break is much more efficient. Keeps distancing and helps with lunches. You'll have a proper lunch, since you are having to prepare your whole food from home and bring it in, as there is no ADR at this point in time. Rubber band depends on overall game skill of dealers scheduled, and it can't be guaranteed what game you're going to be on. You may deal different games all day long. Minimizes a disruption to the play on the table, as you will be going an hour and a half and then moving to your break and coming back to a different table. But at least it's only one disinfecting cycle per hour and a half to minimize the disruption to the play. Different game mixes, again, you can deal more than one game in a day rather than being on one table for your entire shift. It increases the flexibility of to increase the flexibility of our dealers, all of you will be trained on Dynasty and the Roll to Win craps. Neither one is difficult. The machines do a lot of the work for you. It makes for a nice, easy day. All of that training will take place on your on-site training once you've been scheduled to do so. Distancing is important. It seems to be a key right now, is trying to get people to keep their distance from one another. When on site, we will guide you as to the entrances and exit plans along the way, where the swipe stations are. When lining up, don't congregate or impede the live games. Table games office and the training room will only be accessed by appointment at this point. You can book it by phoning either of the either of the areas or any of the areas that you would like to see someone. And make sure that if you are phoning and using the phone outside of the shift office, that you do disinfect before and after using that phone. You can also send an email, which seems to be the way the majority of us communicate nowadays anyways. So go ahead and just send an email, request an appointment, and somebody will give you a call back or an email back. Supervisors and dealers, remember to exit to, you are to exit in a predetermined direction, guided swiping by your supervisor as to who's going to swipe. So we won't have 20 people waiting around the swipe clock to swipe out. The supervisor will try to keep the flow going and to a minimum, and allowing for the 2-meter distance. The ADR tables are spaced out appropriate distances to allow associates to maintain a proper distance and to be able to remove your mask while you are seated on break. 1 associate per section on the dining table barriers. However, there are 4 sections, but currently with limitations put forth by Health Canada, it's going to be 2 associates per table as per the signage on the table, and each table is only equipped with 2 chairs. Don't move the chairs around, guys. They're there for a reason. We're there to keep our distance and protocols in place. And I also want to encourage you to disinfect the area that you're sitting before and after. Be respectful to each other, but don't depend on somebody else to have had cleaned it when they left. You never know. Better safe than sorry. Make sure you clean it for yourself. Everybody should recognize these signs. These will be all over the building in some way, shape, or form. But it is definitely something you want to remember. And we do have American players once our borders open, or people who may not be fully comfortable with meters. So again, remember that 2 meters is 6.5 feet of distance. Strategic opening and limiting the number of players is part of our opening plan. Games that can be opened and the number of seats available are set up in advance. 3-chair player maximum per table for games that previously had 6 batting positions. 4-chair maximum per table for games that previously had 7 batting positions. Supervisors and managers will ensure the appropriate number of chairs when opening and closing and throughout the gaming day. Limitations to the number of players not being in the betting areas. In other words, no crowding, no big crowds around a table to watch the action. Everybody needs to maintain 2 meters apart. Players can still play multiple spots. We're only allowed so many players, so if they want to play extra spots, that's fine. They're available on the tables. And again, please remember the protocols in place for spacing, and then remember your procedures for multiple spots played on games. Some are not allowed to have extra spots, some they can. Only seated players, they must be seated in order to play on sit-down games, or games where chairs are provided is probably the better way to say it. Wagering from behind and table jumping is not permitted. So no more big crowds around Baccarat when there's a big bank run. Players are not permitted to congregate behind or move chairs from one table to the next. Again, supervisors, this is within your control to assist your dealers. So please be mindful of the spaces and make sure that you're helping to control the area around your pits. So the COVID protective barriers, everybody's heard about them. Everybody's probably seen them in if you watched the town hall or you've been following all the information from Richard Taylor on NC Linked. Barriers have been placed on the blackjack, baccarat, and minor poker tables, and then barriers separating seated players and on the games where the players need to be separated. And then there are barriers that actually separate some tables. Even Dynasty has a barrier between one dealing unit to the other so that the 2 dealers are not face to face, that they have a barrier between them. Here's a really great example of how it looks. This is a great picture. There's a few things I'd like to point out in this picture. One, of course, is your plexiglass barrier. As you can see, it's been placed at a position that does not impede your work area in any way, shape, or form. The players do have to reach under the barrier in order to place their bets. And there are barriers that are in between each of the players. Those barriers are removable should we eventually get, should restrictions be lifted or eased at some point, we can remove when we can remove these barriers. But currently this is what it looks like. I also want to point out that table behind the blackjack table with the barriers. You can see that it's a completely black tabletop. These tables are going to be, they're multiple purpose. They're being used to space the tables apart in order to maintain that 2-meter distance. But these can also be used as sanitization and disinfecting stations. So there's a hand sanitizer, there could be a hand sanitizer on it or in front of it or around it. As well as this is an area where players could actually stand in queue while waiting for a seat to open at the table beside it. But again, this area also needs to be maintained with a 2-meter distance. It's actually quite nice. They're very easy to see through. They're nice and clean. Hopefully they stay that way. And if nobody touches them, then we're good. Everything will be just fine. It is a responsibility to ensure that all of our guests are adhering to physical distancing requirements. 1 player per sitting area. We can go ahead and make sure that we let them know. Be mindful. It might be a husband and wife, and she might, or a couple, and he or she steps behind their partner, and that's fine. Just be mindful of anything more. They are within the same household, and by no means can a chair be brought over to allow their guests to sit down beside them. There are only chairs, the appropriate number of chairs already placed at the table, and none can be brought around. Players must wear their masks at all times, except if they're drinking or eating. And since we don't allow eating at tables, it'll only be while taking a drink. Do encourage your players to take their drink and then replace their mask. Offer them hand sanitizer at any point in time if they do choose so. Yes, there are stations all around, but a player may not wish to get up to go and get one. Go to a sanitization station, so offer them the hand sanitizer. It's in your best interest to ensure that your players are playing with clean hands. Signage will be used throughout the gaming floor to remind guests to disinfect electronic gaming equipment before they use it. As well, there are signs on machines that have been disabled to allow for social distancing. There's carpeted paths, as you've seen on the updates from Richard Taylor. And on these carpeted paths, there is the arrow signs to encourage people to stay on the right side of the path while they're walking in any direction. Again, the arrows do indicate the direction to which they should be walking, and they also mention the 2-meter distance. Wayfinders will incorporate the locations of hand sanitizers and disinfecting wipe stations at Fallsview. I'm not sure if everybody remembers, but Wayfinders is basically like a little GPS for the company or for the building, and people can log into it and see where everything is and find their way around. At this time, Casino Niagara has a map posted outside of the slot office indicating where all of the hand sanitizers and disinfecting wipe stations are. In an effort to ensure that your needs are always addressed, we ask that you escalate any concerns to your manager so we can get you the information, resources, or tools to do your work effectively. As part of our Safe to Work commitment, we are all responsible for health and safety. Don't hesitate to remind your fellow associates, including your supervisors and managers, and our guests if they are not following health and safety protocols. Bring any health and safety concerns to your supervisor or manager and/or a member of the Joint Health and Safety Committee. If you have any questions regarding our processes, please bring to your manager. They will follow up with any information they don't immediately have an answer to. We're all new to this. Be patient. They may not be able to answer it immediately and have to look up the protocols that have been put in place. Just be patient with everybody and yourselves. Any concerns can also be reported using the safety concern form at the MyHR or My Voice. If there are things we can do better or resources that would make your job easier, please let us know, and we'll do what we can to ensure a great workplace during this time. Communicating is key. Please don't stay silent. If you think something needs addressed, speak up. If somebody's not following protocol, say something. It's a new world. None of us are totally perfect at this. I had a day just a couple weeks ago where I was walking into the building, often thought and rolling around in my own head, and I walked in, good morning, big smile on my face, got a couple strange looks, kept walking from two associates, including a security guard, walked down the hall, good morning to a couple more people. And then I stopped and realized I didn't have my mask on and nobody said anything. Don't be that person. Speak up. A gentle little tap to your face will remind somebody, hey, you forgot your mask, put it on. Or if it's down below their nose, just do a little, we've all seen this commercial on TV. Don't stay silent. We are responsible for ourselves and each other. When communicating your concerns for table games, we have some different avenues you can take. You can email your Falls Table Games shift managers. They have a group email address, which is on the screen below, as well as Casino Niagara property managers have a joint email, and it automatically goes to their personally assigned email address. But you can, of course, always email them individual if you already know their email address and someone you're more comfortable with than a group. And of course, Shannon has always been open and willing to listen to your concerns and do what she can to assist you. NC Linked is probably the best form of information that we have in our building. It's an amazing website that they've built for us with so much information. And they've added a new tile. On there, there's a little COVID tile. As you can see, the red arrows pointing to it. Within this COVID tile, you'll get Niagara Casino's COVID-19 health and safety plan, frequently asked questions, safety and data sheets for all of our disinfecting and cleaning products, and information boards will have up-to-date information within each of these areas. I also want to point out the policies and reference. You'll see it on this, if you're looking at the little smartphone there, the yellow one with the file folder on it, that is your policies and procedures, policies and references folder. Within there is a table games tab that is all of our SOPs, and I cannot do more than encourage everyone. Please, if you have a few minutes, read up on some of your games. These are the most up-to-date SOPs. And everything has been updated, so you don't have to be concerned with that. But I do want to encourage everyone to make sure that you do your best to try and use your resources, look things up, understand what you're coming into, try to refresh your mind on some of your games. This is also a good point to point out that NC Link is available, NC Talent is available on here. If you go to the resources, which is right above that policies and reference tab, and you click the drop down screen, you will see NC Talent, and it will take you to the link to log in. And I also want to encourage you to please log into NC Talent and complete any of the assignments that are there. I'm going to quickly switch over the presentation. This concludes our departmental reorientation of our protocols in regards to disinfecting and sanitizing, cleaning in regards to COVID-19. But we're going to do our compliance training as well. So give me 1 second and just let me flip over our presentations. And we've all seen this one before. This one's been around for everyone, forever. We do this every year or two. Table game specific compliance is last time it was done, I think, was the year 2019, just before we closed. We were finishing it up with everybody. So we're going to quickly go through a lot of the a lot of the compliance issues that have happened in the past, as well as introduce some of the new things that are happening. I won't go into detail in reading step by step for some of the new processes, as we will demonstrate them when you come in, but I do want you to have this as a reference. You can always pause the slide or the screen as you're watching it if there is something in particular you would like to read in more depth. But I'll give you what you need, and we'll show you once you get here. So let's get started. Standard operating procedures. are to be taken very seriously and can have serious implications if they're not followed. The information here must be adhered to, and there can't be shortcuts. They're put in place for a reason. Game security, for example. The dealer will never correct their own mistakes or irregularities without a supervisor's authorization, and dealers must clear their hands. There's no exceptions to clearing your hands. It must be done 100% of the time. You know that our rules and regulations we play by, we have to follow several different guidelines, the rules of play, the Gaming Control Act, the Register Standards for Gaming. These are all incorporated into your SOPs. So as long as you're following your SOPs, you are following all of these different operating procedures. Again, clicking the Policies and Reference tab will take you right to the area where you can click on Table Games and get all of our standard operating procedures. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to have your license ready. There is a phone number that you can call if you can't get into your IAGCO account. As well, again, referencing the email that came along with this link, there is a link to take you right to the login page for your IAGCO license. Please, again, try to make sure that you have taken care of all of this prior to coming in, at least that you can log into that account, and then we can print your license for you when you come in. Your personal information, I had already pointed out as well, is available to you on NC Linked. Follow the link, follow the link, and it'll take you to the form to fill out. It'll take you a few minutes. There is quite a few questions and quite a few pages, but it'll be much quicker doing it on the computer than having to do it on paper if you don't finish it before they take the link down. If you do change any of your information for name change, or you'll have to fill out after this point, let's say 6 months from now, you get married and you need to change your name, or you get divorced and you need to change your name, you'll have to go through the personal information change form, which is also available on NC Linked or at our HR office. If you do change your name, you will have to follow up with AGCO, as they may require more, but it does have to be notified within 5 business days of your name change. Your signature control card, we've all signed these a couple times throughout the years. If you feel that over the last year and a half that your signature has changed, please let a manager know or your trainer know that you feel you need a new signature control card. Keep in mind that your signature must at least contain your first initial and your last name, as well as a very clear ID number on any paperwork that you do need to sign. Ethical standards. Just a reminder about close friends and family members in regards to gaming. Remember that they are not allowed to play at your games. Nothing's changed in regards to that. You do have to inform your supervisor in the event that a table you're walking into has someone who is within that close familial relationship, or even just a really close friend. I always have told you guys for years, I've said, if it's somebody you would have over for coffee, they shouldn't be sitting at your gaming table. Let your supervisor know. At the very least, you're at least making a point of telling them that something isn't, you're not comfortable with something, and they will make arrangements to rectify the situation. Minors are always a concern on the floor. You do know that the gaming floor is 19 and above, accessible only. It's going to be a little bit challenging coming back to work at this time with people wearing masks. Age can actually be quite masked, for lack of a better word. Remember that it is your duty. It's everyone's duty and responsibility to ensure that we do not allow underage people onto the gaming floor. Each associate has the right to ask a guest for identification. Security, again, of course, will be using hand stamps at the door should they feel that it's necessary, but a hand stamp, if you're not comfortable and you still feel that the person looks much too young, you can ask the supervisor to request identification to ensure that they are truly of age. Actually, let me just stop there for a second and go back one for a second, just also to give you a quick reminder of the back of house. Actually, I think it's coming up. Never mind. Intoxicated guests, if you feel that a guest is intoxicated in any way, whether it be with alcohol or any other substance, it is your responsibility to inform your supervisor that you feel a patron may be intoxicated. Do not address the guest yourself. Let them take care of it. And then if a supervisor does feel the same, that there may be an issue, they will notify food and beverage, who will send a supervisor as well as a security guard to assess the situation and make the determination if the guest is truly intoxicated and needs to be removed from the premises, or if perhaps it may be another condition. Prize disentitlement has been around for a few years now. It is for all of our progressive jackpots, and we every couple of years we seem to be getting more and more. Currently we have Nexus, Super 4, and the Royal 9, as well as Bad Beat on our Hold'em poker tables. Basically with this, there's several different elements that could cause a player to be disentitled to winning a jackpot, and this is an AGCO mandate. So you may, if someone is underage, could be somebody who's been trespassed, somebody who is self-excluded. There's any number of reasons why a player may not be eligible to win their jackpot, or at least be entitled to their jackpot. If we do in fact pay out one of these jackpots, the supervisor or the manager or assistant shift manager on duty will be present at the table and will make sure that the attestation to entitlement is completed and that the process is followed clearly and cleanly. Tips and gratuities, nothing's changed. You're still allowed to take your tips. You'll still get them on the table, drop them in the tote box. I do want to remind you about our gift policy though. Associates are permitted to accept unsolicited gifts, providing they are valued at under $200. Please be reminded that you are not allowed to receive gift cards or cash, and that all gifts must be logged through the supervisor, letting the supervisor know, and you can pick them up at the end of your shift from the table games office. Minimums and maximums. This is a habit you're going to have to get back into. Hopefully you haven't, it comes back very, very quickly. Minimums usually aren't too much of an issue, but maximums at times can be, and we have had lots of problems with maximums in the past. So be mindful that when you close the table, as much as we all think that sweep across the table is just for show, it's not. That sweep is your opportunity. Check for minimums and maximums. Check to see that your chips are all in the proper order, highest on bottom, lowest on top, that they're not barber pulled. Take the opportunity, ensure that you know what you're doing and what you're looking for. Be mindful of the betting maximums on each of the tables. Check for the minimum maximum on your visual limit sign before you sit down or before you begin to play, before you begin to deal. Some of the betting areas, especially the side bets, which seem to have been an issue for a while, majority of the side bets have got the actual maximum rate on the layout in the print. There's no reason we should be having these issues if you're paying attention. And having been away for a little bit, I know there's a lot to think about when you sit down on a table, but maximums are key to making sure that your game runs smoothly and that we're not getting into trouble, or you're not getting into trouble and running into difficulties with players. So please be mindful of your mins and maxes. Check them every single time you sit down at a new table. Again, side bets on the limit signs, illuminated electronic signs on your visual limit signs. There's plastic placards or printed on the layouts. There's so many ways to keep yourself informed as to what your minimums and maximums are on a table, that there really is no excuses. You need to be present and pay attention. And again, the best way to avoid under and over betting is checking your limit sign, making sure that you know what your mins and maxes are on the entire table, using that hand sweep to check that everybody is within the guidelines, no barber pulls, etc., etc. Make sure you can see all of your chips. Make sure that you don't have a chip that you can't see on the very bottom. Be mindful of your game security. Remember the potentials of cheats of play with regards to chips. If you have any questions, you're welcome to let us know, and the training center will go through them with you again. And we will be touching on those on your on-site training, making sure you're reminded of what to watch for when you feel there may be a cheat of play. Promotional chips. Just a few reminders. Promotional chips are used for free play offers to our guests. They're managed through the cage where the player will redeem their offer at the cage and receive the promotional chips. Once they've received their chips, they can play them at the table. They have no cash value. They cannot be used for tips. However, they can be placed as a toke bet. They just can't be given to you as a tip. And promotional chips can be redeemed at both Fallsview and Casino Niagara and come in varying amounts. And of course, if you have smaller denomination promotional chips in your tray and a player wishes to exchange a higher value for some lower ones, providing you have enough promotional chips within your tray, you're welcome to go ahead and give a check change. If you cannot change those promotional chips for the true value of what the player has his original chip for, then you can also politely let him know that he can go ahead and take it to the cage and they will exchange it for him for smaller value chips. Patrons exchanging cash for gaming chips in order to play on any of the gaming tables. This is our cash transactions. Remember to announce in an audible tone to your supervisor exactly what it is you're doing, how much you're giving, and where the player is. So money change, color up, check change, just make sure that you're announcing the type of transaction that you're performing, 200, 250, the value of the transaction that you're giving. And then if, of course, you do need approvals for $301 and above will require approvals on the different areas. Nothing again has changed here. Money and check change is 300 or less. Go ahead and finish it up. Let your player have their money and get playing the game. Anything 301, wait for your approvals and make sure that your supervisor is aware. And this follows through with everything. Blackjack payouts totaling over 500 or more, they also need approval. Any payout over 500 should be approved. Discrepancies between players or dealers, just let a player and a dealer, just let your supervisor know and let them take care of it. Any errors, any irregularities, please make sure you talk to your supervisor and inform them. Do not fix them on your own. I just want to mention that there has been a little bit of a change in regards to informing and asking for ID. The request for identification for a patron is now required at a $3,000 buy-in or more, and you must personally have seen this player's photo ID. There's no more attestation of another player. So if you know the player personally and you've interacted with them and you have physically seen their license, that's fine, but you can't give your approval to another player, another supervisor of another player. So if I said, oh, hey, do you know so-and-so? You can't say, yeah, he's good, he's good. I personally need to see his identification. So be mindful of that. Refuse name and rated players, everything is still the same in regards to all of this. And supervisors, when you come in, you will get your retraining with the ASMs or one of the shift managers. They will remind you of the different areas and fill you in on the changes in regards to how we fill out that paperwork, because it's no more paperwork. It's all in the computer. Surveillance calls, progressive jackpots, 10K and above, bad beat jackpot, of course, and suspicious transactions, we'll let them know. Payouts over 5,000 on roulette, payout of 5,000 or more on minor pokers, side bets, Spanish, Pai-Gow, bonuses, all of that, we still need approval. Player up or down 5,000, and salon, it's up or down 10,000. We'll let them know as well. And of course, any refused names with a $2,500 buy-in or more. Surveillance is there to monitor what's happening on our floors, to protect the company, protect our associates, and protect our guests. Be mindful of your interactions and your movements. They are watching for something that is not within the norm. For table games, procedures are put in place so that you have a unified way of performing any acts. So if you fall out of procedure, you look suspicious. So be mindful to brush yourself up on all of your policies and procedures, your standard operating procedures within table games. Whenever you have questions or concerns, please bring them to the attention of a supervisor, manager, or even the training center if it's procedural, and we'll help you with what we can. It's been a long time since you've had to clear your hands, so I'm hoping that you haven't stopped doing it while you've been off. Excuse me. I'm hoping that you remember that it's after everything you do. So clearing your hands, just as a few examples that are here, tapping in or out of the table, before and after sanitizing your hands. So when you want to sanitize your hand, clear them, put your sanitizer, rub them, show them again one last time to make sure. Touching your mask is key, is a really big one. Make sure you clear your hands before you take off your mask. Of course, you've sanitized your hands first. If you need to adjust your clothing, if you need to fix your hair, sanitize your hands first. Anyone with long hair, I know in the past we've always we've gotten really lax on this one. Way back in the day, we used to all have to wear our hair tied back. Nowadays, it's been a little bit looser on that particular rule, but I want to encourage you to tie your hair back. Remember, the more you touch anything on your body, the higher the risk of contamination of any sort of bacterial or viral infection. Not just COVID, even just a common cold or the common flu. Every time you have to touch anything on your body, you risk the chance of it getting into your face and touching your mouth, touching your nose, touching your eyes. So I really do want to encourage everyone to tie their hair back. Anytime you touch your body, just remember you need to clear your hands. In and out of the garage, touching a bet, performing a transaction, picking up players' cards or debris or glasses or anything else off the table, clear your hands every time you guys do something and make sure that you're not doing any suspicious behaviors. Suspected cheat of play. We will show you again just to be sure that everybody is comfortable with this process. But I do want to just give you quickly to remind you that it is the reserve lammer is placed behind the paddle and you're discreetly letting your supervisor know who will inform the appropriate levels, whether it's surveillance, shift manager, assistant shift manager, whomever it is that needs to make the call. Unless instructed otherwise to do so, the dealer will continue the game. Don't stop. Don't notify the player that you've actually been trying to get your supervisor's attention because you feel they've done something wrong. Just carry on your normal day. Put that lammer out and discreetly notify your supervisor so that we can actually start to monitor the play. Table inventory, obviously this is the amount of chips that are in your tray. Inventory cannot be transferred between table to table. Found money is money that's either been left on the table or found around the table. There is two different situations or three technically. $25 or more will need to be notified. We will notify security who will come and pick it up, and they will take it to the security office or the K2 for storage. If it's less than $25, we will go ahead and put it back in our tray. And of course, at any point in time, if we can attribute any money, dollar or more or anything, we will always make a notation in the player's count, and the same numbers, same values will be followed. So if it was $25 or more, we would let security come and pick it up, and we would give the security guard the name of the player whom it belongs to, and they would be informed that there is monies waiting for them at the security office. If we don't know who it is and it's over $25, they're still going to collect it. Table opening. We will go through this step by step when you come in for your on-site training for actually for all levels. We're going to give it a quick review. But the one thing that I do want to point out is there's no more TISs. Everything is going to be done electronically in regards to managing your float or your tray. Not going to read step by step, guys. We will go through this when you come in. Just remember that you're still taking out $100 or more, the $100 chips and higher to verify on opening, eyeballing the rest of your tray. You will be verbally letting your supervisor know of the amounts that you're counting. He or she too will also be confirming that they are correct. And then the opener will be placed into the oh my goodness. Everything will be entered into the computer, and then the supervisor will print out one form and the dealer will sign as dealer and the supervisor as supervisor. And then the paperwork is given back to the supervisor. Nothing goes in your Dropbox but cash from now on. Oops. Closing the game will be the same thing. However, we will still be bringing out every value chip, confirming their amount. The values will be entered into the will be entered into the table system, and then we will complete the process. And once it has been submitted, the closer will be printed, and the supervisor will retrieve it from the printer, and both dealer and supervisor will sign it, and it'll be placed in the folder located in the designated area of the pit stand. Bills and credits. From a seated view of the table, so actually I'm not even going to go into detail with this. Again, this is all done in the table system. The system number pad appears and you enter in your values, you repeat it for each additional value. It's very, very simplistic, and anybody who will be required to utilize the fill and credit, the opening and closing, the rollover, all of these processes will be explained to you in detail and actually shown to you physically. It'll make much more sense actually seeing it than reading about it, but know that the actual process has not changed. It's just the tracking of the process that has changed in regards to the financial and the accounting purposes, again, which will be given to you when you come in. And again, same thing. Pit banks, the only change I want to point out in regards to pit banks is the removal of the satellite bank in the poker pit, but since poker won't be opening right now, I'm not going to worry about it too much, but do know that it is gone, and the pit bank in the poker pit will be kind of like a regular table, so players can still buy chips from you. However, the money will be dropped into a drop box as opposed to the current process with the satellite banks. All cards and dice tile inventory must be secured in a locked location. The pin inventory will be maintained on a daily basis using a log to accurately track the quantity of the new and used cards. The table game shift manager or the property shift manager of CN will deliver and pick up cards to maintain the established inventories per pit. Used inventory must be in the proper bags, all information completed and sealed. And the same with the dice. The dice, the supervisor or above will verify the serial number of all the dice, put them in the pouch, and indentation in the dice to cancel them. Dice must be canceled when they are removed from the game prior to being picked up from security. And then, of course, the tile inspection process. Currently, there have been no changes to this process. Each tile must be inspected individually, sorted into pairs, with witness from surveillance as well to make sure that they know that everything is clear. You're checking for your scratches on the backs, fronts, sides. Once they've been inspected, then they're good to go within play. Both the dealer and the supervisor will check these. When you're changing your tiles, surveillance should be notified immediately before changing the tiles. Used tiles are placed back. Tiles will be changed at least once per day, gaming day, so a 24-hour period. During this time, tiles will be changed. During COVID times, tiles will be changed with each dealer. So that's every hour and a half. Seems a little bit daunting, but it could be a fairly smooth process as long as we all buy in and we stay enthusiastic. Any changes that happen, they'll be okay. Everything will be okay, and we will walk through it and get you through everything. Just be patient, guys. We've got this. Rollover will still be happening at the end of the gaming day when security has placed a new gaming day drop boxes. All tables will be rolled to the next gaming day, and it's done through the table system. It's very simple. Go to the table, end shift on the seated view screen, tap and select the closers. The screen will appear. Enter the totals of dollar amounts or chip count for each denomination. User ID, password, different. If different from the default login, tap submit. The system will prompt to close rating cards starting from seat 1. Once all rating cards are closed, the screen returns back to the table seated view, and the ratings and table are opened on a new gaming day, which appears on the table header. It seems like a little bit more work, but it's actually going to be much easier. You don't have to worry about the paperwork of doing rollover. It doesn't require additional staff. It'll be a nice, smooth, clean process. And again, it will be gone through with you. Dropbox change happens daily. This is done and performed by security. Be mindful not to touch the drop boxes when they place them on the floor by the table that they are required for. The only thing that I want to point out in regards to this is when the security guard comes to the table. Sometimes the security guard removes the paddle, sometimes it's the dealer. Be mindful if the dealer that's on the table didn't remove the paddle for the security guard, that paddle should be disinfected before the dealer does touch it. Keys will be maintained by it will be stored in the shift office in the key watcher. They're controlled by the table games department in a secure place, which is just inside the shift office. Accessible only to employees with table games department in a position of assistant manager or above. And at no time are these keys available to personnel other than personnel that are specified. Internal audit it'll still happen. We don't get off that easy. It's still going to happen on a regular basis. In the past, we've been audited on a quarterly basis, randomly selected areas of footage from surveillance for table games, different times of the day. They're selected from and run through on a very detailed basis. They're slowed down, they're zoomed in, they're whatever they can do to check for procedures and make sure that we are in fact following what we're supposed to be doing and that SOPs are being adhered to on a regular basis. Our accounting department performs daily audits on paperwork received along with anything relating to large cash transactions. Since we are reducing the amount of paperwork, this may be a little bit of an easier process for everybody and hopefully less exceptions. Just be reminded that since you're not going to be signing as much paperwork, when you do have to sign paperwork, remember to put on your identification number and make sure that it is clearly visible. These compliance issues are, they're the ones that we seem to be dinged on a regular basis over the years. Minors on the gaming floor, again, not just table games, but every department, we're all responsible for this, as well as the alcohol and gaming concerns. This usually pertains to allowing patrons in an altered state of mind or in a state of intoxication to game. Back of the house access, entry to the back of the house has been obtained by patrons, whether of age or not. And just a quick reminder on that process. Should a player follow you into the back of the house, if the door closes, then you need to call security. If the party has an underage person with them, you must call security. If the door, however, has not yet closed and everybody that has followed you through the door is of age or appears to be of age, you can just politely escort them back onto the gaming floor. But again, please remember, if it is anyone that is underage, that you must call security if the door has or has not closed. Rules of play violations, a non-adherence to ICM, and then over betting on table maximums has been our majority of our deviations or compliance violations over the years. This one I'm going to point out, and I'm going to be a little bit detailed as to how this is going to work. In the past, we've had exceptions for people who have personal reasons for needing more frequent washroom breaks, and I'm not taking that away, nor do I want to scare anyone. We are not trying to make you feel uncomfortable or try to force you to do anything or hold it, let's be honest, or hold it longer than you have to. But what we do want to stress is it is extremely, extremely important that under no circumstances are you to use the patron washrooms. You need to use associate washrooms. This comes into play, this comes into an extreme importance when it comes to contact tracing. So if you've gone into a washroom that you weren't supposed to be in the first place, and a patron that was playing at the other end and not anywhere near tables goes into that same bathroom at the same time as you, you've put yourself at risk of contracting COVID. And remember, if you have COVID or any symptoms of COVID or have come in contact with anyone with COVID, you can't work. So be mindful of that. Now, the other part of this is quick bathroom breaks are going to be gone. Not that you can't be taken off a table if you need to use the restroom, but what you do need to understand that this will now become your 30-minute break. So if, I need to go use the restroom, please, I need to get off the table, that's now my break, which means that the entire break rotation changes. it's fine, but understand that that's what happens. So if you need to have a washroom break, and you can, but that will be now your 30-minute break. So instead of being a 2-minute, I'm going to run to the washroom and come back, it's, okay, I'm on break. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Please, guys, do not go into the public washrooms. They're not for us to use. They never have been. We've just gotten lenient on them over the years. No public washrooms, only associate bathrooms. So what's some new things that we've changed along the way over the last year? One of them is on blackjack. All blackjacks on the main gaming floor, the dealer will now hit on soft 17. The only blackjack games remaining that we stay on soft 17 is Spanish 21 and in Salon Privé. Those will still remain. So again, main floor, hit soft 17, VIP and Spanish 21, stay on soft 17. Every baccarat table, whether it's VIP, I should say, whether it's in Salon Privé or it's out in Pit 8, is no commission. Our only exception to this is in our private gaming suites, as well as the Regency rooms on the 30th floor. Those tables will be collecting commission. Roll to win craps. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am about this game. It is so much fun. And if you have ever thought, oh, I wished I could deal craps, but it's too much math and I can't think that fast, now you can, because it's a combination of craps with a dealer pushing the dice out to the player, and they still get to throw the dice, but it's also a slot machine. So all bets are placed on a slot machine style format as opposed to actual physical gaming chips. It's a lot of fun. And the beauty of this game is everybody can deal it. I said, funny enough, we were actually demoing it to some of the other departments the other day, and I had some of the Momentum members dealing craps. It was a lot of fun. I think you guys will really enjoy it. And with your superior customer service with regards to our players, it'll be amazing. It gives you time to actually have that interaction and fun with them. Easy Pai Gow has been removed, and we only have Face Up Pai Gow now. Just as a reminder, when the dealer has an ace high, it's a push. Again, we're going to go through all those processes when you come back. And then coming soon, we have the must-hit jackpot on Super 4 and Royal 9. I know when this came in, some of you, I may have spoken to you about it, and I said, oh, how exciting. Hopefully we get approval for it. We finally did. So basically what this is a random progressive jackpot that builds up to a certain amount, and it's usually a lower amount, like $300. And when it starts getting close to that, all of a sudden just one random player that's playing the progressive jackpot, either the Super 4 or the Royal 9, they just automatically win it. We've also had the addition of 000 roulette, and we will go through the processes and procedures for that. And the grandfather lammer has now been eliminated. We no longer will allow players to play at a lower limit than what the table is for extended periods of time. So at this time, the grandfather lammer is gone. I'm going to quickly switch back to our final slide, and we're done. You guys, I hope you're still awake, and I hope that everybody has been able to listen and has some questions that they may want to ask when they come in. But on behalf of myself and the Table Games team, I really want to thank you guys for your patience with the presentation, and I appreciate any feedback or questions that you may have. Feel free to send them to me or to anybody in our department. As soon as possible, we will get back to you. Or if you just want to ask them when you come in on your on-site training, that's fine too. A few reminders for your on-site training before I let you go. Designated meeting areas, you will have been informed where you're meeting. They are outside of the associate entrances. So at CN, it's down the alleyway just outside the associate entrance. Should it be raining, please feel free to go inside by the coat room, but be mindful of that 2-meter distance between one another. And Falls View, you're going to meet outside of the associate entrance. It is a covered area, but if the weather is poor, again, you can go inside, fill out and make sure that everybody does their attestations using the QR code or fills out the paper copy, which must be done through shown to security prior to being given entry. But do not go any further if this is your first day. And the only way we want you to go inside is if the weather is poor. Otherwise, please wait outside until someone comes and gets you. Your trainer will be there to escort you in and follow through the process. Also, please don't come too early, but make sure you give yourself enough time to find parking, get yourself settled, and get to the meeting area on time. I know it's difficult and we don't really know, and parking's changing on a regular basis. Um, just be aware of your time. And then I also want to point out that I know you guys haven't seen each other, or some of you haven't seen each other in a really long time. Distancing is important. Please don't hug your friends when you see them. It's hard for me to say that because I am a hugger. But be mindful of your distance. Keep your distance. Refrain from those personal contacts. A fist bump, an elbow bump is fine, but really try and maintain those 2 meter distances between each other. It's really important that we follow all protocols in order for us to get back to normal and back to 100% capacity. Make sure you've printed your license. Again, I can't stress to you enough. If you're not able to print it, that's one thing, but at least access your IAGCO account. Know that what your user ID is, and as well your password, so that if you do need it printed, it's a quick minute for us. We don't want to waste your day trying to print out and having to phone the AGCO and do all other things. So make sure that you're at least able to print out your license when you come in. Be mindful of the parking guidelines. Remember to check your email where the link to oh my goodness, the link to this presentation was sent to you. In that email will have your parking guidelines as to where to go and when to pass, or where to park. Make sure that you bring a mask to wear for the day. I actually suggest bringing at least 2. It does get a little bit warm when you're walking and talking, and a wet mask is really hard to breathe through. So I do suggest that you bring at least 1 to change if you do get a little hot and a little sweaty. And you will get your welcome package that has 4 masks, but of course masks should be washed before you wear them. So make sure you have sufficient with you to make yourself feel comfortable. Lunch and snacks. There's no food other than the vending machines, and the vending machines just got turned on this week. So please be mindful that if you need a certain amount of food, if you've got diabetic issues, don't rely on having anything here because there's nothing here. You need to bring your own food, your own cutlery, your own serving dishes. There is a microwave, the toasters are still available, those kind of things are still here, but it has to be brought in. You can't expect to be eating from the ADR. Bring a refillable water bottle so that you have water and any other drinks that you want. You can put an ice pack in your lunch bag if you choose to, but the fridges are available. But if you're not comfortable putting them in there, your lunch bag in there with other people's, make sure that your lunch is taken care of in a sufficient temperature so that you're not eating spoiled food. And at the end of the first day, we do ask that everybody collects their uniforms. Uniforms will be your responsibility to launder for now. So we want you to pick up your uniforms at the conveyors at the end of your first on-site training day. Should your uniforms not be there, please let the trainer know, and we will contact uniforms and ensure that your uniforms are either designated to the site that you've chosen at this time, or that if they're just not there, we'll make sure that we make an appointment for you and get everything organized. I just want to say thank you guys and welcome back. I'm so excited to finally see everybody. I can't wait till you're here. Please, please, please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.